Let me say a little bit about the Council on Foreign Relations. We're nearly 90 years old. We're independent. We don't accept a nickel of U.S. government money. We're nonpartisan. We're in the business of producing and disseminating ideas. That's our widget. Other people produce tires. Other people produce donuts. We produce ideas. And then we disseminate them. We have scholars who produce them. We have people who come to meetings and talk about them. We have a magazine called Foreign Affairs, which if you don't read, I hope you do. You would. We have great, inexpensive student subscription. We have two websites, foreignaffairs.org and CFR.org. If you don't use CFR.org, you should. It's the best website in the world now on American foreign policy. And yes, it's true, we have some meetings, not that it's secret, but we try to have them where we don't talk about the identity of the speaker, just in order to promote confidentiality. It's a membership organization. But there's a lot of stuff out there on the internet and beyond about conspiracies and stuff. But ultimately, we want to be a resource. And one of the things we try to do is not just for podcasts, but we try to be a resource for universities. We have all sorts of programs to be a resource for places like Brown. We try to be a resource, say, for the people who give sermons every weekend in churches and synagogues and mosques. So religious leaders can get more involved and more informed about international issues for state and local officials, for journalists, for business leaders. Essentially, we want, I believe, I'm old-fashioned. I'm naive enough to believe that if we have a more informed debate in this country about the world and about our foreign policy choices, it will improve the quality of the policy. I admit that's naive, but I believe in it, and I'm committed to it. So that is why we don't have a council position on anything, but we have as a council commitment to be a resource, to produce the best ideas our scholars and others can, and to put them out in circulation. To be a resource for all these different groups and organizations and individuals around the society, in and out of government, so they can have a higher quality, more informed debate. They make their own choices. We don't have power. One of the basic things you learn in political science is the difference between power and influence. We have zero power. We can't make anything happen. What we can do, again, is lob ideas out in there into the public domain, whether we testify to Congress or publish an article or go on TV or come to Brown and talk. And we lob ideas out there, and we hope these ideas take root. That's how things work in this society. It's an open society. So that's our mission. There's nothing sinister or conspiratorial or necessarily even secret about it. But thank you for asking. Sure.
Yeah.
Very quickly, quick question.
In this non-polar world you described, what role do you see for structured state-based multilateral institutions like the UN?
Okay. Did you have a quick question?
Yeah, if you would like to.
No, I'll do it together.
Okay. Well, mine's a statement.
Well, I don't want to do a statement. I want to do a short question.
Okay. National sovereignty. It concerns that. In 1950, James Warburg said we shall have a world government whether you like it or not, by conquest or consent. 40 years later, David Rockefeller.
I hear where you're going. I understand.
The two
actually fit together.
Okay.
The two actually fit together. I think the role of the UN will be limited, and ultimately the role of the UN will be limited for two reasons. One is the 5 countries that make the most decisions at the UN, the United States, Russia, China, Britain, and France, only represent a limited part of world power, and their ability to agree is limited as well. So for that reason, the UN will not be a central steering group for the world. And instead, what we will have to do is invent, either on an ad hoc or on an innovative basis, various other forms of formal and informal cooperation to deal with particular challenges. But the UN is the central or even principal international body to deal with most of these challenges? I don't think so. I just don't think you have the right countries represented there, and there's not sufficient consensus. That's not an anti-UN comment, it's just a fact of life. It'll be one of many institutions, and I think by and large, more specialized institutions will probably play a larger role. I'm not in favor of the UN or anywhere else of world government. The T at the end, I think that's a non-starter, and I think it's nonsensical.
The Council on Foreign Relations is, sir.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
Well, again, you can either ask
No, for all of you, don't worry about what he's telling you. Do your own research.
But I do believe that the idea of international cooperation on governance is it's not just desirable, it's necessary. That, again, the sorts of problems we're facing in this world, from the spread of nuclear materials, to climate change, to protectionism, to disease, and so forth, these are problems that cannot be handled by any single country alone. And that's where I think we are going to have to find ways to lash together or fashion various coalitions around the world, hopefully broadly based, hopefully formalized in institutions, to deal with these problems. It's not a question of sovereignty, it's a question of capacity. It's the nature of the problems in a global age. And the bumper sticker is essentially that global problems require collective forms of response. No country, even one as great and as powerful as this one, can essentially manage global problems on its own. That is simply a fact of life of living in the 21st century. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hello, hello. And the mic's off, obviously. We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity during those years. But the work is now much more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practiced in past centuries. David Rockefeller.
Sorry, I couldn't get the other report.
Great talk.
Thanks. How's the family? Is your brother's here too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a junior. Probably working on his work, and he's just beginning to prepare his major for geology.
Cool.
Yeah. It was nice seeing you.
Great to see you.
Sir,
Everything okay?
Yeah, it's great.
You must have been
Mr. Haass.
Cowan.
No, I wasn't at that.
I thought this was over right now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's right there. Why don't you ask for me? He might talk to a young lady. Oh, but he...
Don't be the next. Don't take him.
Oh, dude, no. There's no reason for them to do that. They wouldn't do that. Obnoxious? No, I wouldn't.
Yes, I do.
No, man, I would seriously prefer to talk to the guy. They just won't talk, you know. Obnoxious. I'm not gonna be. Thanks.
Take it easy.
Yeah, you too.
Excuse me.